I'm doing well, man. I'm tired, man. Just dropped a bunch of videos. Now we get to hang out and just talk football, but I got some energy now, man. Let's do it.
Good. We're going to need that energy. All of us are going to have to give that energy in a couple days. And I know you've been working tirelessly on content, and you've done such a dope job on the platform, in the community, not just even YouTube. YouTube, you're already, one of my favorites, one of my, everybody, right? But from a standpoint of the Texas football community, thank you, brother. Thank you. I'm actually wearing
I know, I saw that
Stands hat. You have the sponsorship with Last Stands hats, and those guys are really, really dope over there. So we appreciate all that you're doing there, man. Let's tap in with the chat.
You're the king, man. You're the one that paved the way. I was one of your first, 400 subscribers. So years ago, man. I used to, anytime you guys would go on. So it's pretty trippy to be on here now because, yeah, man. So you paved the way, both you and Tran. So thank you for opening up this YouTube stuff for everybody.
So we got a game coming up, and we're actually we're talking about a game while we're watching Ohio State, Minnesota. Like I'm sure a lot of people are in the chat all over the place. I was tweeting about it earlier, but hopefully we don't end up in this nervous situation that Ohio State is in right now as they get ready to go into half. Homer, as we everybody's showing you a lot of love in the comments right now. Everybody's just so excited.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
But we've all put out our preview stuff this week. You've actually got an opportunity via Inside Texas, that partnership, to work directly with Hudson Card. Shout out to Hudson Card for his NIL deal, man. Just your overall feel, man. I know you're tired. I know you've been working on just so much going on. But your overall feel going into game week. We're not going to go into predictions or anything like that, but just vibes, right? In terms of what you're hearing, that whole bit.
I feel I kind of, because Louisiana's solid experience squad. So I think we have a little PTSD from the previous era where it's like, I don't want to come out there like we got this. And so I think we will win. I think we'll win fairly easy, but it's the same thing with Minnesota, Ohio State. If they come out and jump on us, get us rattled early, all that stuff, it could be trouble because they're going to be able to execute and do all the things to make us pay. So talking to Card and stuff like that, he's confident. He's there, and so because I would even off screen, I was telling him, I was like, Patrick Toney's coming for you, man. He's gonna try to get interceptions. He knows you're a young quarterback and everything. Card is fully aware of all that, and he has that. It's quiet, but he has a confidence to him, man. I think he's prepared. I think he's probably over prepared. So we're going to see it. It's really an O-line game, right? If he's running his entire life, then we get into trouble. But if we can protect, man, I believe in the young new quarterback, and I really believe in the defense. So,
I mean, from that standpoint with Hudson Card, I know there's a lot of anxiety with people about first time starter, unseat. I say unseat Casey Thompson. Technically, he wasn't necessarily incumbent. Sam Ehlinger was, but you know what I mean in terms of he was favored to win the job. And you have the aspect of, if you're not in the Austin area, you didn't go back and study his huddle tape or really familiar with Lake Travis football, you're like, why is this, and I think that's more of a function with Hudson Card in particular of what we've seen from Texas, not necessarily anything to do with the player. For example, Bryce Young getting ready to take over at Alabama. CJ Stroud took over tonight. Did people have anxiety about those guys? And CJ Stroud was in a pretty intense quarterback battle with Ohio State. Now, he's had some struggles here in the first half. We'll see what he does in the second half. But people are betting on Bryce Young to win the Heisman and do all these things. We haven't seen much of them, but he's getting that Alabama, hey, he's just in a good system. He's going to do what he did in high school. How come I can't assume the same for Hudson Card working with Steve Sarkisian with all that he did at Lake Travis?
Go a little bit further. I mean, like even talk about DJ too from Clemson. I mean, he played with all of these guys. They competed against all these guys in the Elite 11, and no one's given them any pushback about them starting. They're like, oh, they're going to be fine.
DJ's a little different because he got to play a little bit last year.
Understood.
You know,
but even when he had to step in for Trevor Lawrence, you didn't hear everyone's like, oh, he's going to be fine. They had that confidence.
Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah,
I think they forget. I think they forget too that, you know, a lot of the fans that don't follow recruiting closely. I mean, Hudson Card was number 2 behind Bryce Young. You know, he did incredible at Elite 11. You know, so that is what's interesting is you get some pushback. And I think truthfully, I mean, it's because Casey balled out in that half, you know, so people really, really like that. And so I think that's why you're kind of seeing it. If you saw maybe a poor performance or something, people wouldn't, you know, be as upset about it. But I think that is what's interesting, because if you look at Card behind the scene, he's in the same conversation with the Bryce Young. And so if you actually look at performance and all that stuff and getting recruited. So I don't know what that kind of pushback is. I don't know. I think, you know, Card goes out there and balls. I think that's quieted immediately. If he doesn't, then I think it ramps up a little bit. But that's what I don't get either. Card has the accolades in the background and through high school of a Bryce Young. Bryce Young can do a little bit crazier stuff, but I mean, they were right there. So I remember I've had to talk to people and tell them that, like, hey, he was that highly ranked, because most people don't realize for whatever reason and thought maybe he was just kind of a run-of-the-mill guy, and he's never been that.
My boy Jeff from back home, I talk to Jeff almost every day. He said Homer's sound quality sounds like he's sitting next to me. Jeff is over in Charlotte, Carolina now, but
yeah, good stuff. I'm getting a new mic tomorrow. My birthday's on Saturday. I'm getting a nice mic, so y'all get ready. I'm gonna sound even louder.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Yeah, thank you guys.
So, I will blame you if we lose, by the way.
I know. That's why. That's why it's on. The game's on my birthday.
Yeah.
That's like when Tran got blamed when he cut his hair last year. For those who
and that's
remember.
why I've not cut it. It's ready to cut again, but I will not cut it until we have our first lock.
They said Stan cut his locks, bro.
Yeah. I will not cut it until we have our first loss. To be like, hey, it's not me.
No.
Before we get any further in the conversation, because it's a lot, we're going to jump in. We're going to address all the comments. Tran and I actually have an announcement. We are now sponsored. We got a sponsor. It's official as of today. You can see the BUSR logo here. BUSR will be the official betting partner and sports book of Fanatic Perspective. We are thrilled to be partnered with BUSR. We actually have a special landing page and website for anybody that wants to go on and sign up. So busr.com/fanatic. That promo code there, that NFL 100 FP, that will get you 100% free play. NFL 100 FP. So you deposit $100, you get $100 in free play. You deposit $500, you get $500 in free play. So all you guys that follow Fanatic Perspective, or you're watching Texas Homer video breakdowns so you can go and gamble, well, boom, do it with us. You're already going to do it. Go to busr.com/fanatic, sign up. Let's make money together. Thank you to BUSR. We're excited to be sponsored. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming.
That's
Hopefully
cool, man. Congrats
on the first run through there.
Killed it on the call notes.
Boom. Boom. Didn't even have to look at my notes. But in all seriousness, I am excited to have BUSR.
Absolutely.
This is a big deal, man. Congrats.
Yeah, it is. It is. We know, as YouTubers, because I'm gonna, get into a little personal side. As YouTubers, it's a lot. We need help as we grow. Homer, you started your channel 8 months ago now, and you've grown so fast. I'm so proud of you of what you've done.
Thank you, man.
And the business side of it, and not just the business side, but the support that our channels need. We're not ESPN. We're not LHN. We don't have the same resources. We're here. Matthew is here behind the scenes trying to help me out as best he can while I was changing houses, and whether it's space, whether it's equipment, the time that we put into editing. Homer, nobody understands that better than Homer does, right? So just the entire aspect of this is really important to all of us as content creators. But I said you started your channel 8 months ago. Homer, like you said, you've been with me 400 You were at one point a mod on my live
Yeah.
for a long time. I think you still have mod access.
Yeah, I can go check on my personal account and see.
But like we've been friends for a couple years now, right? And I'm so excited. Like when did you make that shift to where you were like, I want to start this channel? Because I want the people to get kind of understand you and how you conceptualize these things, especially with your film background.
Yeah, it was really, I was working my job in digital marketing, and that's a creative kind of thing, but you're doing the work of clients, and so I just kind of, it had been a couple years since I had made a film, and I kind of just had that itch to come back to it. And so I was just like, hey, I'm gonna make a little video on Sarkeesian. It was perfect timing. He gets hired and everything. So I really wanted to focus on strategy and breaking down X and O's and all of those kind of things. Those things really interest me. And I think, that's the game within the game that not everybody is aware of. And so you can't be aware of something if no one teaches you. And so I figured, hey, let's try to do fun entertainment, really in depth on the team, but hopefully you get something out of it too. You feel like, when you're watching the game, you might understand something more or something like that. So really it wasn't supposed to go anywhere, man. I was going to make some videos as a creative release, and they went well, man. And so I remember telling you, I was like, hey man, I'm going to start the channel and all that stuff. So yeah, it just kind of life of its own. People really like it. I'm super lucky, man. I went through making videos and 3 people watch them, and that kind of stuff. So it's been really awesome. The support, it's very different than normal YouTube comment section, man. Normally people roasting and all that, but people been awesome, man.
Yeah. That's kind of it's funny that you said that, I didn't think anything would come of it. The way Steven and I started this is that we were actually talking, we were watching a Spurs game at our friend Jimmy's house, and we were just talking, at a higher level where we were breaking down like formations and defensive formations. And I don't know who it was, but someone said that we should film ourselves doing it. And we decided to do it, and we didn't think anything would come of it or anything like that. And it's just great to see other people and people who are actually fans of the channel too, like increase their brand and increase their ability to do what they want to do too. So congratulations on all this success.
Same to y'all, man. And we got a great little crew, man. I mean, the Texas content creators, I mean, we're just super lucky. Because I look around at other schools and they don't have this collection of creators coming from different angles. Not everybody's making the same content. We're lucky, man. We have a nice little crew, and shout them out. Nino's Corner, Orlando show.
Yeah, Nino's Corner. Nick does fantastic work. He's really getting connected within the recruiting side of things. He's starting a recruiting corner this season that I think it's going to be recurring. We know how big time Texas Football Talk is getting, and Clint and Jeremy, I'm thankful for their service and what they've, the element of family that they've brought to the platform, and it's so cool. I always feel like I'm having a beer when I'm listening to them, and just
they're great guys.
The vibes and our friends Texas Platinum, all the fun stuff we get to do with them, and the drafting and the whole bit. Our boy Lando, who's playing baseball, and he's doing everything right, and growing his passion. So I agree, Homer. Our community is really, really dope. We have a little group chat, all of us on there together, but we hardly ever talk YouTube. I feel like we have, it's like a massive like Longhorn group chat where we just, as fans, because that's the element of where we're starting this for. We're not like I said before, the journalism aspect and all those things is cool. And we respect everybody out there that works hard, and that's their day job. But I think the element that we bring to the table, breaking all this down, is very, very unique. We appreciate all the well wishes in the chat, guys. I do want to address some things that people are saying here in regards to football, in regards to the game. We're here to talk about everything. So there's a comment here saying, really excited to see Carr play. He can deal. Curious to see what Xavier Worthy looks like. Wish Brendan Eagles had stayed too. So appreciate the questions. Keep them rolling in. I was thinking about Xavier Worthy today. I was thinking about him a lot. I was rewatching some videos that I made and with Tran and we, you know, our breakout candidates, and I'm like, going back, should I have Xavier Worthy? Should I have put Xavier Worthy on this list? Like,
Yeah.
What's your take there? I mean, we know he's with the ones, right? And there's going to be a lot expected of him. But what's your take there in regards to Xavier Worthy in particular? A lot of buzz.
Worthy, what I was excited about whenever I did my video on him, and I was breaking down his huddle, he has incredible footwork and he has great releases. So it's not just his speed, which he has incredible speed. And so that's why I got excited, because what is it if you're fast and wrong? It's just a fast mistake. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, speed is great. But what I saw is that he was able to understand alignment. He was able to understand leverage, get off press. That's whenever I was like, okay, there's a chance that he can come in year one. And then to see him on the depth chart do it, it's really impressive. He just got over, you know, he had an illness and he's still number one on the depth chart. So he's been, you know, from all the accounts coming out of there, I mean, he's been impressive. He's been impressing the upperclassmen. They talk about him when they can. So I think that was massive. I think we don't even realize how massive Sark picking up.
I got a follow-up question for you, because you talked about him, the illness. He had a little bit of time away, jumped right back in there. Mm-hmm. Is it? I feel like this like glass half full versus glass half empty. Is it a good or bad thing that he jumped in the room so quick and got a job? And when I say that, I'm talking about the other people that
jump in the depth chart.
You see what I'm saying? Like, or is it just like, oh no, he's that good. Like he's that good. He's like, you know, most recently like a Marvin Mims last year, where it's like game one, day one, you know, the kid is lights out, right?
Yeah, he's I think how it's kind of his whole trajectory was kind of weird with Michigan. That's the thing too, is like in theory, if you look at everything, he shouldn't be number one. You know, he was sick. He's a freshman. He came late. So, I mean, it's showing you that his skill is kind of a number one receiver. And we don't have that number one. We'll see it. You know, is it Moore? Is it Whittington? Is it Worthy? But we don't have Colin Johnson. So I think if you had your for sure number ones, maybe you don't start a freshman. But I think the upset of their depth chart was of benefit. And I think, you know, maybe that's not a great reflection of all the other wide receivers. But if he's that talented, I think we're going to be all right.
What's the score of the Tennessee game? A lot of people are talking about Tennessee Bowling Green. Hold on.
No idea. I have the scores up here.
Please let
14-6.
Tennessee?
Yeah, Tennessee's up 14-6.
Okay, cool.
At half.
Hey, Ken, I know you said well wishes for my family. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I totally agree with you guys about Homer's voice. He should be narrating everything.
It's so weird too, man. I've never had anybody talk about my voice until I did these videos. It's a totally new thing for me. No one's ever been like, "Hey, man, you should do that." Never once. And so whenever I release these videos, everyone's like, "Hey, we like your voice." And then you have the other half of the people that are like, "Man, you sound like you're asleep. You know, what are you doing?" So it's like you get the mix of some people really like it, and some people are like, "Man, you got to perk up."
So Clay Stewart said, glad to hear Sark's comment during the presser today about not being stubborn and willing to make in-game adjustments. Can't wait for Saturday. So, Tran, we talk a lot about Tom Herman, you know, hitting his head against the wall, things of that sort. You know, I think that's an element that we really want to see is how does Sark coach at Texas in terms of not as a play caller. We're not talking about play calling. Talking about managing timeouts, understanding certain things. Like PJ Fleck called a timeout, like how PJ Fleck was manipulating the clock at the end of the half. Those are the type of things that you really can only assess when the games really, really start happening. What's y'all's overall feel towards that?
So in terms of the big thing I want to see on game management is the 2-minute drill, especially with a young man who's taking his first real college football snaps, seeing how they've prepped for it, how the coaching staff will be able to handle the clock management of it, running out routes. I know he's an excellent play caller and an excellent schemer, but can our team go out there and produce. Also, that's something that we've banged our heads against the table for the past couple of years. Is our 2-minute drill has been atrocious, and we've had Sam Ehlinger as a quarterback for 4 straight years. So that's where I want to see the game management. The timeouts, like coming out of it, a penalty coming out of timeout. I want to see us not do that.
Cleaning all that stuff up, man.
I don't want to see a delay of game after a kickoff. Those are the things I want to. Those little minute things.
Trent, well, somebody said it to you too. Like, it's just get out of your own way.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing if you just get beat, bro. But it's like special teams, like with the long snapper. Nobody talks about the long snapper until the long snapper F's up.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Like, no one's going to talk about, you can debate timeouts or going for it if something's unsuccessful, but the execution was there and the logic made sense. We can debate those things or who played and who didn't or who rotated or who didn't. But I'm talking about stuff like that where it's just like, oh, the commentators are like, what are they doing?
I know. I don't know that piece of Sark's game. Like, how is his actual? I mean, I've seen the 2-minute drills. He's scheme heavy and do that. But as far as I really haven't paid a ton of attention to his hard coaching. So I think that'll be new for me. I'll see it. I would have to assume that he's consistent and understands that aspect. But we had the past 4 years happen.
So we could look at 2 sides of the coin. He was fantastic at Alabama. But then again, he was always front running for the most part of last year. I don't think he was in any real close games except for A&M for the first 2 quarters. And then the pick 6 happened. But then you could also see that the Super Bowl game that he coached in with Shanahan. Shanahan. They blew that game.
Yeah. Like the biggest one ever.
Yes, they blew that game.
Was he on the Falcons then, or was he?
I'm pretty sure he was on that Falcons.
Okay, he was before he took over. I think you're right. Yeah. I mean, I look at it this way. Like, I can't blame assistants for those type of things. Like Shanahan, the only thing that Shanahan got blamed for was
he didn't run the ball.
He didn't run the ball.
He didn't run the ball.
Yeah, but like even Shanahan getting blamed for them losing the lead, that's still a Dan Quinn problem to me. Like I put that at the feet of the person at the top. If I would have to go back and watch Washington or USC to really assess that, but it's been 6-7 years since he was on a sideline as the head man where he had the challenge flag and all that. So at this point, I think Homer, you're right. We won't know that and how because even Steve Sarkisian then is a different person almost.
Yeah. I think the COVID game would be your only thing that you could even try to salvage because he took over for Saban that one game. But still, that's a tiny sample size.
Yeah, it's not enough because there's some coaches. I always talk about the negative stuff. But on the flip side, you see some coaches like I was talking about with PJ Fleck that do smart things with the clock or understand certain things or hey, go sub that big boy in right now and slow them down.
Right.
Like just the mind games, right? That you can play. Because I've seen a lot of people that are bomb ass play callers, but when they're in a situation with playing the game as a head coach, they get screwed up a little bit. I think Tom Herman got sideways with that, to be honest with you. I really think in another world, if he was more focused, things maybe come out differently. So I think those things are really interesting. We're starting to get some really, really good questions here. So somebody asked about the punting situation. Cameron Dicker is taking over. Hopefully it's a non-issue like it was for LSU back in 2019 where, they punted 13 times. But
I would love it to be that way. But I mean, we saw him last year for the last 2 games and we weren't talking negatively about him. So I'm not worried about Dicker and his kicking game. I don't know about y'all too, but
we've been spoiled because of Michael Dixon.
Yep.
We got to stop comparing people to Michael Dixon.
Agree.
He is the greatest punter we have ever seen. Stop it! Did you guys see the last punt that he had in preseason where he booted it 60 yards right on the 1 yard line? let's stop it. Let's stop it with the
Yeah, we got like a Hall of Fame punter. They seriously, remember he would change field position for us. I mean, he was legit a punter, legit affecting the game. Like everyone says that they do, but Dixon could actually get us a win with field position.
Pete Carroll traded up for him.
Yes.
Yeah,
See, Carroll,
he went out as a
Carroll
junior.
He understands the value because Pete Carroll with the defensive background was like that guy. If he can put people at the 3-yard line all the time, that guy's as valuable as any defender I have.
Yeah.
Right. Because now if my defense gets a stop, we're getting the ball at midfield because of him. So that is very, very valuable. I think with Cameron Dicker, it's just, like we were talking about with Steve Sarkisian. I'm not asking the world. I'm not comparing you to Michael Dixon. And I expect Isaac Pearson and Bashevsky. I don't know how his health is really coming along. He wasn't walking around great, honestly, when I saw him in the spring. I don't know how he looks now, but I was paying attention to it. I will say, though, as long as we're not talking about it after the game and it's like, yeah, it was fine. I'm cool with it.
I think special teams is like, I have a weird stance on punter kickers anyways. I don't believe they should be separate. I think that you should punt and kick. And so it's just always a weird thing I've had. And so when this happened, I was like, oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
The reason why that they're separate is injuries for people rushing the punter. If they get hit wrong, if someone even lands wrong on it, it's twisting a knee.
Yeah.
And then you don't have a field goal kicker.
I think you should have two. You should have two that can punt and kick. And so if one goes down,
I agree.
But I've never understood why it's separated. It's besides the injury thing. To me, it's like you can play eight plays a game. Most people are playing 80s. So
Nice,
I've always understood that. Yeah, I want those to meld.
CB was good, man. He said no more mind-boggling rotations. I think he speaks on behalf of the entire fan base. Homer, how many times did you text me during last season about where's Bijan Robinson? What do we do? I think I still what are we doing? And I think everybody has a friend that they were hitting up like that, where it's just like, I don't have an answer for you. Nothing's wrong with the player. I don't know why Brendan Eagles getting subbed out for, I don't understand this, that, third. But again, I do have faith though with the staff and whatnot and where they came from, that this is common sense stuff that will be, if we have to address it again, I'm gonna be pissed. I don't think that's gonna be a case though.
I don't think we will. Stan Drayton, he did a presser and he said, he was like, I got a lot of flack for doing the committee thing last year, but Bijan wasn't ready. But all it showed me when he addressed it publicly is that he's aware that that's a criticism. And all that. So I think we will see that go away. But this is the weird time because this feels like the time where we could have an actual committee of backs because we have Keelan and Roschon. But the one time we finally have a feature back, now we have the depth. So it's like, it just seems like we got everything flipped, and the running backs were the weirdest of the committees last year, and wide receivers.
Yeah, it's puzzling. I mean, even after that was a really nice throw by CJ Stroud to
Olave. Yeah, to Olave.
Really nice.
What's the score on that?
It's 17-14.
Yeah, it's gonna be 17-14. They just came out and got one. Really nice throw. See, that's what so I'm glad this game is on while we're talking. Because sometimes as a coach, you want to see more so not how my dude comes out and balls. Like, I think Ryan Day would know, oh, yeah, if CJ Stroud started the game 8 for 8, he's going to look like he looked in practice. Because I think what sometimes coaches want to see is how do you respond to adversity? Because CJ Stroud went into the locker room down 14-10, threw an ugly pick. How is he? What's his mental? How are we looking? And for him to come out and throw a nice ball like that, be poised, that's what we're looking to see from Hudson Card if he ends up in that situation. Now, I don't mind if Hudson Card comes out,
balls out,
and picks up right where he left off at Lake Travis. That'd be the goal, right? But at some point, you're going to be introduced to adversity. They talked about that with Mac Jones. People forget, before he was Mac Jones, when he took over for Tua Tagovailoa, and they played Auburn, and he was learning, and he threw couple pick sixes, But I think Steve and Nick Saban knew they had a real quarterback because he continued to he didn't go away. He got better.
You remember
like,
Sam?
Okay, I'm not going to make that mistake again.
You remember Sam's first year? It was heartbreaking. He would remember he would throw those picks. I mean, that Oklahoma State, like Sam had so much heart, but he was just young and trying to force it. And so he did the same thing his first year. And you saw what Sam, you know, how they progress. I'm almost nervous if Carr doesn't get tested. You know, so it's like I'm in a weird space as a fan because I do want to see him tested. I do want to see Louisiana give him a taste of what he'll see. You know, I don't want to like a cupcake rollover game, like, you know, how excited we were after UTEP, you know, last year and stuff like that. So it's like I don't want that to occur. So I'm in a weird spot where like, yeah, go blow him out. That's great too. But as a young quarterback, you want to see mostly that he'll get back up. Because that's really the only question. As long as you get back up, you'll be all right. But
you'll be all right.
Yeah, but that's what I kind of want to see, some pressure there. And the fans are kind of like, okay, he makes one mistake, we need Casey in. And it's like, no, let's not do that either. Like, you know, let's struggle. Let's and Casey when he gets his reps. Like, but give him a fair shake. Let them get the feel of it. You know, don't get nervous and pull them because at some point they're going to have to go through this.
Bro, I haven't been on Twitter, but I'm pretty sure because Ohio State people are like us sometimes where they can get a little rowdy. I can only imagine. I'm pretty sure if I typed in Jack Miller or Kyle McCord,
Quinn
Ewers, I'm pretty sure people would be like, yo, we got to get Stroud out of here, bro. You know, blah, blah, blah. Like, so I totally agree with what you're saying. Go ahead, Tran.
No, I was going to say I agree completely with you. I know you say that. I know you think that in certain scenarios, it is okay to pull them, kind of like a Spencer Rattler, what they did last year.
Yeah, like a psychological trick. Yeah.
I think that for most of the times, it's going to hurt the quarterback worse than it's going to help them. I think that was just a special situation because after that happened, they were unstoppable. They may have been the second best team in the nation after he got pulled from that game. I think a lot of the times if a quarterback gets pulled, it's a shock to their ego. It's a shock to their confidence. So that's why I'm saying if you got to see how they react to an interception. You got to see how they react to a fumble, things like that.
Yeah, it worked with Rattler's personality clearly because that was the turning point for them. But everybody's personality is not the same. And remember Rattler, how he looked the first few games. He was wild, you know. He was trying to force things. He was trying to be the OU quarterback, and when you do that, you get into trouble. And so, whenever Lincoln finally was like, "Hey, man, settle down. You don't have to beat Texas single-handedly," that's when it clicked for him. And you saw he played lights out. He was the #1 quarterback for the rest of the season. So I tell fans like that too. No matter if it's Casey or Card, and you see early struggles, okay, that's fine. I mean, you got a second-year guy, or you have Casey with only a half of experience. It's part of the process. But I know we're tired of processes after so many years. Everybody's like, let's do it now.
Well, that's where I'm a perfect segue because that leads into the Xavier complex that I've talked about before with it's not fair to the kid. It's not Hudson Card or Casey Thompson's fault or Bijan Robinson's fault that Texas has been down so long and now we're desperate. It's not their fault that the last two coaches here got let go. Last three coaches here got let go or staff turnover. But it's like because somebody just commented, I think it was Alex Thomas said, we don't have time for mistakes by our QB. And I think you're right and wrong about that, right? Because, yeah, if we're trying to win now, and I think we're in win now mode, then we have to minimize those mistakes. But we also have to be realistic. Like, he is taking over, and there's going to be things that he has to ramp up to. Steve Sarkisian, AJ Milwee, Kyle Flood, everybody's going to help and support him as much as they possibly can. But there's going to be growing pains. That's just a natural part of playing the sport. But what you just said, Homer, about the psychological and understanding your quarterback, that is masterclass stuff because Lincoln Riley couldn't have probably done that with Baker Mayfield.
No.
Right? But he might be able to do it with a Kyler Murray. I don't know. But he can do it with Jalen Hurts. He might have been able to do that with because Jalen Hurts was in a situation where he got pulled for Tua in the biggest moment of his life. right? So it all depends on the psyche of that player. And we've seen a lot of players get crushed or lose their way because the coaches and whoever was guiding them didn't understand how to handle them in those situations. See Garrett Gilbert. I don't like comparing to just because like Travis, it has nothing to do with that. But we're talking about the sports psychology stuff is actually underrated. I think y'all would agree with me there in terms of just overall aspect of this. But with quarterback play, it's even more nuanced, and you have to understand how to handle your person. I do think that the way Steve talks about both these guys, he understands them psychologically. He understands them.
Yeah, it's gonna be, and you have Casey, who's the more traditional kind of confident out front quarterback. You have Card, that's a little bit more quiet. So I think either one of them could be completely different cases, and so it's just you're gonna have to see him with Card. I told you I think he has some gunslinger in him, and so I love that part of the game. By the way, I don't use that as an insult. A lot of people do. I like gunslingers. I think it's a fun play style. And but it's just that line that I was talking to him about, it's like, because I can see him coming out like Spencer and trying to win the game for us and, throwing things he shouldn't. And so that's where I kind of hope that Sark has really taught him like, hey, take what's there, even though it's not always the most exciting option. And we'll see, man, if he's trying to win the game in the first quarter or not.
See, Breezy, thank you, brother. Hey, BUSR, go put if you're betting on Texas or betting on Heisman or anything like that, go check it out. Go hit up BUSR/Fanatic or BUSR.com/Fanatic and get your NFL 100 FP for 100% free play. Appreciate y'all. I will say this because we've been talking a lot of quarterback and people starting to hit me up on about the defense. And we got a comment here regarding the arm bandit. A lot of you guys, I know this comment is directly from our top 100 video because you used the same sentence that Tran used. And I appreciate y'all watching. This defense, though, best way to help these quarterbacks, the defense, the run game. Spencer Rattler trying to be Superman last year. I think the suspensions, I'm not trying to get in OU's wheelhouse, but Ronnie Perkins and Ramondre Stevenson, and when Kennedy Brooks opts out, all of a sudden he's like, I don't know, Major and all this guy. It was a little different, right? Yeah. We got 5 back there, so anytime Hudson Card looks to his right or to his left, he'll see Bijan Robinson. Sense of comfort. But this defense, I think, has a chance to be really special, Homer, in my opinion, with PK.
But just how many seniors are on it. It's is it reminiscent of what the 17 season? And so they had, it was funny watching them mix up the depth chart, and then you can tell that there was a clear decision to play the older guys, and so because we were hearing about Jaron and all that kind of stuff early on. So those guys are going to kind of sit through the process and bake under these guys so they can be them next year. But the seniority that I don't like, normally I have a weakness that I'm like kind of scared about on defense or something like that, but I'm not scared on our defensive line. The biggest question is probably going to be our pass rush on the edge. I really like what I've been hearing about, of course, Overshown and then Brockermeyer, and then you got Benda backing up Overshown. So we have fast linebackers. They can go side to side. They can tackle a running quarterback. And then you go into the secondary where it's all super experienced, and we have, NFL corners. And so it's just the defense. That's whoever put that comment, good job, because whenever we all talk about the quarterback stuff and the Bijan stuff, but really the intrigue is the defense this year.
So Minnesota just scored, ran one in from about 30 yards out, 2017.
Yeah, it was there was a pick that was overturned, and then they ran it for like 30 yards once it was overturned. But back to the defense, do you think they're good enough to hold while the offense catches up to where the defense is? Because what we've seen the past couple of years is that the offense has been good, the defense has been lackluster. Then the defense catches up to the offense, and then the offense seems to stall. I don't want to see that. I just want to see the defense just be stalwarts the whole season until the offense gets the confidence within Sark's system.
That's the risk.
Yeah.
Like the risk is see, like if you score too quickly, that puts a lot of pressure on your defense. If you go out there and score in 4 plays, and Sark wants to score in 4 plays. He said multiple times that, well, because the more plays you add, the more chances you add it's not going to work out. So Sark just wants as few plays as possible to get in the end zone. And so, but that play style has the opposite. And so say we do score in 3 plays every drive, you know, and so that does put pressure on the defense there. But that's why I'm happy with the secondary being so senior laden, because they can help. So I am interested. There's almost a side of me that's like, if we score too quickly, that could be a problem for our defense, not Alabama. But if we keep it, we don't want to go super slow where we have 15 play drives. So it's, can they actually help each other and benefit each other? I think maybe at some point you extended drive so defense can breathe.
I don't know the stat last year, but I know we weren't really good at getting 3 and outs. We were able to get a few, but we weren't. Do you anticipate us being better at that? Being better at first and second down?
Yeah, because of the D line and our fast linebackers, right? So like those, because really they're going to hit us on those inside slants. Well, great. We have fast linebackers who can get to the inside slants, you know? And so I do think, and honestly, we get this weird first-year bump anyways with coordinators at Texas. So it's like
going back to like Manny Diaz. Like it's been
I think it's probably because it's a new scheme. The coaches,
the Acho brothers were just saying, man, he just stayed to the side. We got this covered. We'll get everyone in line.
So I think it'll.
No, I wanted to jump in on the point about the defense and the snaps, right? Because I think that goes into what we've talked about before is complementary football and making sure things are aligned. That was something that 2019 LSU had to figure out like halfway through the year, because they were flying through and people were like, what's up with the defense? They got all these killers over there, but they were like, bro, we're playing, you know, I'm getting Gatorade and Jamar Chase is already gone. You know what I mean? So it's marrying that up so that your defense can get used to playing at that pace and whatnot. I also think turnovers too. Like if you're generating turnovers and you have quick change of possession when you're not playing as many snaps, that matters as well. I'm on board with you about the Sark comment too, because he said that in regards to an opponent. He was like, hey, if you're trying to go on a 12 or 15 play drive, you know, the opportunity to screw up or somebody gets called for holding. How many times have you seen, and it's so true, I never thought about it that way. You've seen your team go on a 13, 14 play drive, they're inside the 15, somebody gets called for holding, it's like, damn, we got to kick a field goal. Or damn, we got to punt because we got knocked back. Like the more plays you're running, it is a likelihood that somebody will commit a penalty or a mistake will be made, because it's just so it's you have to execute every single time.
Sounds like a scorned Cowboys fan.
I was thinking more about the Cowboys when I was saying that. But when he triggered, Sark triggered that when he said that about the Cowboys for me.
You have football is crazy. There's probably not a more complicated sport when you're talking about number of people. I mean, you're watching 11 different battles occur at once. And that's why when you're watching it live, you can't really even understand it. You have to rewatch it because there's so much going on. And so I think that, you have 11 battles going on. And so the more plays you do, you just expose yourself to risk. So, Sark is legit trying to score on you in 3 if he can. But like we said, there's that flip side. So I think it's probably going to be in the middle. I think we're going to have average drives and the defense will be fine. PK is I think Terry Joseph is actually defensive pass game coordinator, but he's running PK's cover 3 from Jimmy Lake at Washington. And so with that cover 3, you have 3 high and 4 under, but they're constantly switching out who those 4 unders are. And sometimes so that's where you're going to get your picks. And stuff like that. And so the focus is 100%. That defense is designed to trick quarterbacks and to get the ball. And this is cool. I almost did a video on this. I don't know if I ever get to talk to PK, I'll ask him. But when I was watching in Washington, his defensive line would hold up running backs, hold them up so other players could come and punch at the ball, know? And so I was like, so I'm like, if we're doing that here where we're not even trying to tackle you. We're trying to hold you up so you can get stripped. That's great. And so whenever I heard about that, that's what I was excited for. So you'll see some like unique stuff that we haven't been doing that gives us the opportunity to get fumbles that we didn't really have before.
I don't know why more defensive coaches don't teach that. I don't know why.
I think they're scared. They just want to get people on the ground, but really it's smarter to hold them up and try to strip them.
Even if they break through that hold, it slowed them down enough for your team to actually converge onto them. So I don't know why they wouldn't.
So to the PK point, I believe he said this in a presser about their goal being, was it 21 or 20 points per game in the conference?
Yeah.
Which is ambitious. Yeah. And I think Todd Orlando did it his first year or was somewhere
He
around
held under every team under 30. That was
every team under 30, but I think his average was something stupid. It's just that was the year, like we were talking about, with Sam was breaking in and Shane Buechele. They were kind of going back and forth. We had a lot of injuries. We didn't have running backs yet. Like it was kind of messy on offense. To y'all's point earlier that y'all were discussing about offense was here one time, defense is here one time. If we can kind of get everybody on the same page. I mean, college football, big picture, because this is what we do on this channel, big picture. College football is going to be freaking interesting this year. I mean, we're watching it right now, real time, with this Minnesota-Ohio State game. Ohio State does look a little desperate. I agree with the people in the comments. But with all these returning players, all this experience, the transfer portal, everybody was hitting the portal left and right. Louisiana, as you covered, Jacob Cabody and some of these guys hitting the portal themselves. Everybody's up in business. And I think it's an unprecedented time, like it was last year, but for the opposite reason. Everybody's now back in camps. You covered that with Hudson Card when you talked about the difference with COVID last year and guys really more so talking virtually, didn't have those relationships. And now they're in the building with folks. I mean, we are headed for an unprecedented year, I think, in college football that may change the trajectory of the sport when you introduce something like NIL as well.
Those, just the amount of super seniors you have, now that stuck around. That's going to be, we haven't had, I think it was your video, I think that you did, that you were pointing out how COVID has skewed returning production. Avenger status.
Yeah.
Marvel.
Thanks, C Breezy. Your check's in the mail, brother.
Yeah. So that was kind of the biggest turn, is that you have these really top heavy, senior heavy returning production teams. So really, in theory, we should see people more perform better. And it's not like COVID where we expect to see people perform worse. So we should have a little bit. You should have senior leadership here. I mean, Louisiana has an absurd amount. That's how they're able to be number 6 on offense, number 1 on defense. Also, because when Billy showed up, or Napier showed up, he was smart and basically said, I'm only starting freshmen. So even though they're like the most senior team ever, they're mostly juniors. And so that's what's crazy, is that he just said, you know what, I'm going to start it with all my day one freshmen and I'm going to build it up. And that's what he did. But that's the difference. I mean, I was looking at it, I was like, it's not a ton of seniors on their team. It's just kids that have been playing freshman and sophomore year.
It's wild too, because they had a really good 2019 season. And I think that's being forgotten. And a lot of those, like, it's not just, they all balled out during COVID in 2020. Like and I think they lost 2 of their losses in 2019 were to App State, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like, that's a good solid crew that understands. That's what I'm saying. Like with Billy Napier or whatever, they're going to have confidence coming in here. They're going to feel like they're going to win, because that's what they do when they suit up together. And that's where this staff has to tap in with our guys right off the bat and just say, well, not today, especially us being back at DKR, bro. Like, it's been a minute with it being full, and the energy that I believe we'll have for the opener. Tap in the comments if you'll be there and provide a noise if you're screaming from home. But I don't know. I just feel like that energy just this season, something's up, man. This is going to be wild. It's going to be wild.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's gonna be. Louisiana is such a fun game one too, man. It's like, I'm glad it's a little nerve-wracking, but it's a great. I mean, you can be engaged game one. Normally, game ones are kind of.
It's a good test.
We'll know where we're at. Yeah, like you'll see after Louisiana, you'll kind of know how this season's gonna go. If we go 2-0, Louisiana and Arkansas, we're gonna have an awesome season. But if any one of those get dropped, the season's probably going to be a little different. So, but those first 2 tests are serious.
I think the season would be different because of the mental.
Yeah.
Because this is like, it does take a while to get over. I'm not even going to say the past coach's residue, but in your culture, when you've used to losing or you're used to going through this way and somebody's trying to pull you out of it, you really don't see the change really happen until the games really start. They can say that everything is different, but everyone knows when you get in a certain point of the game, somebody in the mentally is going to say, here we go again.
Mm-hmm.
And what we have to see and what Steve Sarkisian is going to have to overcome, what Pete Kwiatkowski's going to have to overcome is when a player says, here we go again, it's like, no, this is not going to be the same thing over again. Right. We're about to blow these dudes out. We're not messing around. We're not going to go off sides. We're not going to do something stupid. Yeah. We already know the refs, the refs are going to be the refs this year.
It's over for us, man. We're not getting a call.
21-7. Hold on. So I'm assuming this was Orlando's number that you're telling me from 2017. So I knew it was around that number. Yeah, him saying under 20 a game in 2021 is impressive. It's their goal. He didn't say that we about to do this. He said our goal is. But
didn't Washington have something where excluding last year that PK didn't let anyone put above 30 on him or something? There was some.
It was like 35 for like almost 10 years.
Yeah. So if anyone's going to hold down scores, he's one of the guys that's legitimately been doing that. But to come into the Big 12 and say 20 points, that's a hell of a statement. And so, there's plenty of coordinators in this league that just went, oh, really? So that'll be fun. But he has that history. He has in the Pac-12 held teams to really low scores. Even, Mike Leach at Washington State and that kind of stuff. So really high level offensive guys he's been able to hold down.
Who are we not talking enough about on the team? Player or coach? Who are we just missing on right now where we may come back to this live a few months later and be like, yeah, we probably should have gave him his flowers sooner?
I think the weird one is Collins not starting, and so it's like, I think Alfred, whenever he goes outside, he's a big name for us, but he kind of got, reorganized in the pile. So I think he's somebody that I'm really curious about coming up. I think, Worthy. I think Moore has a shot too, man. If he can be consistent, he's definitely got that chip on his shoulder. He's always on social media, like, I'm going to do it regardless of y'all, and so that's a wide receiver thing. They love to say that stuff. But I think maybe he can show up for us, but Cook, there's a lot of guys that I'm like, hey, we've been waiting on you. It's time,
Tight ends.
I'm going to say Junior Angelau.
Okay.
And that's just more so because I think our run game is going to be just so good, and if we're running in between the tackles, the experienced guard play is key. Him chipping at the line and then getting up to the second level, that's going to be huge for him. And I think that the video that we broke down where he broke it wasn't Junior Angelau, but it was the left guard. It was left guard.
Okafor at that, and I think
that popped that pulled up to the second level to get the linebackers. So I just see him with his experience, and he's a mauler too. He's got that Samoan blood in him. He wants to hit someone. So I think that's someone that we haven't spoken about at all this whole year.
You guys are coming up with some great names here. We getting Jared Wiley. We got Whittington. I just showed Brockemeyer.
I like Luke Brockemeyer pick. I think that's smart because he's been rising, man. All my friends that actually, know what they're talking about tell me they're like, yeah, he's super fast too. Apparently we didn't see that coming, but he's really came on strong.
Do you think how come he didn't get the love that his brothers got? Like, do you think he's like more of a late bloomer where he's just like, things are just like, from a football perspective,
he could have gone.
Not terrible.
He was a legit 3-star, so he had offers to go to other schools on scholarship, but he just loved Texas, and so he came here as a walk-on. But Luke could have played, full scholarship at several other options. So I think that's what it was. And whenever I was talking to Eric from Inside Texas, he was telling me that he's like, look, whenever we were first writing about him, we were saying this is not a walk-on. This is a capable kid that can come through. So I think the walk-on tag got put on him, and everybody just said, hey, nothing's going to come of it. But the reality is he's not really a walk-on. He just wanted to go to Texas,
I think he has the skills. I just think that his brothers have the skills and the size. That's the major difference. Yeah. When a guy's 6'4", 300 pounds, and he's playing offensive line, and he's athletic with it, he's going to be highly regarded. If you're 6'1", 225, and linebackers, there's a ton of them out there that have skill, athleticism, and size as well. So he's in a loaded position.
Tran, can I present devil's advocate? Because you're walking me right into the other side of it. It's the same thing I was talking about with Brendan Schooler. And the question I asked, I'm not saying I feel this way, but we got to be objective here, right? And I said this earlier with Xavier Worthy too. Xavier Worthy walks into the room, has all these things happen to him, and wins the job. Brendan Schooler walks into the safety room after not playing safety for 4 years, wins the job. Quickly, right? And so then now Luke Brockermeyer is not, I'm not saying walks into the room because he's been with the linebackers. It's not the same situation. But all those guys, like even Devin Richardson, who we got from New Mexico State, Delhi coming back, like all these guys who were more highly lauded, regarded, that don't win the job, is that an indictment on them?
It might be razor thin on the talent gap too. We're not there in the practices, and then also Adai wanted to quit on the team.
Yeah, he
wanted to quit on the team. He may be also there for the leadership.
It's not just Adai, like Jalen Ford and Devin Richardson.
Jalen Ford, isn't he younger though than Brockermeyer?
Yeah, it should be.
I'm thinking it might be from a leadership perspective. I mean, if you look at everyone on the team, it's just I think that's the makeup of the team, is that he wants leaders at every single position. That's what it looked like to me.
Brockermeyer's been getting picks. Like that's what the big thing about like him rising in practice, like from the people.
So he's producing too.
Yeah, the people that were there will tell you that like he's gotten several interceptions. He's outsmarted the quarterback several times. So that's what I think they're seeing, is that he's more of like a field coach, and that his mind's right. And because they said that he baits quarterbacks, like, hey, I'm going to this zone. No, I'm not, pick. And so it's apparently his mind is what is, and I heard he's fast too, don't get me wrong, but I've heard that his mind is where he's beating people. He's tricking quarterbacks, and he's getting interceptions. So I think that's why you see him specifically, because he was the one making the most plays. And I can't, like, him beating out Binda blew my mind because of Binda's speed and all that. So but they're saying Luke is there, man. So everything I've heard about him has been really positive.
I agree, and I saw even the little bit of tape. Like I think it was you that broke it down, and how he was flipping his hips in coverage, because that's so important for these linebackers when they're reading. It's one thing to see it; it's another thing to get there. And I was seeing him get to those spots and flash in front of a tight end or flash in front of a crosser that was coming. Ooh, Garrett Wilson touchdown!
Yeah,
I got one. When I was making that card video, there were. Garrett Wilson, is in a lot of those card highlights, and
of course,
he
caught my eye so many times. I was like, man, he's so good.
So I wanted to make this point. I want to make 2 points real quick, because you're when you were showing those like Travis highlights. This is point number one. I was at some of those games to see Garrett Wilson when I was living down there, and I was seeing Garrett Wilson, and then I was seeing Matthew Baldwin, who had to retire. Unfortunately, he had transferred to TCU after he left Ohio State, for those who don't know, and I think he's retired now from injury issues. But I'm seeing them spin the ball around, and then I'm like, damn, who's number one? He fast. That was just a car, like he's. Yeah. And then at that time, like, okay, that's the boy we offered for quarterback. Okay, and then start. Okay, he's been killing it. He's been training or whatever. I think for me is when I saw him in the playoffs. I think it was the Katy game when it was raining. I think they were playing in San Antonio. It was before state, because I think he ended up starting that state championship game because Matthew Baldwin really couldn't walk. His ankle was terrible. That's where I look at, you talk about adversity for young quarterbacks. For Hudson Card to walk into that situation and flip positions, he was what, 1,000+ yard receiver, playing special teams, doing all this stuff.
Legit deep threat, man. Like an
Like
outside receiver.
Off.
Yeah.
Legit stepping off, and then jumps in against one of the best 6A teams in the state that year. And they didn't lose the game because then they had like 35 points. You know what I mean? Like, they just lost to a better team. But they knew then, they were like, oh, this guy's going to take off next year. And, you know, he got 50 touchdowns once he took over for Matthew Baldwin. That was so I just wanted to, it brought up so many memories because you were showing those clips. I was like, damn, I remember Garrett Wilson stepping off and all that type of stuff. And hopefully Hudson Card balls, Bijan Robinson balls, that 2020 class where they're the class that
that's a great class.
Texas back on track, even though they were a smaller class, they got Texas back on track so that Garrett Wilsons don't leave the town anymore. Right. So that Levi Jones back in the day doesn't leave town anymore, right? Or the Brockemeyer twin situation doesn't happen anymore because people can trust the program in terms of our development. Hopefully we get to that point. The other point I wanted to make, though, was Dylan Haynes. I remember he was another one that was a walk-on. And a lot of people, you know, much maligned, people controversial, whatever. I think he's top 5 in picks for Texas. But Dylan Haynes was a guy where people would be complaining, and I'm like, he's playing because there's not a better option.
Right.
Getting back to the other point. So sometimes it's like this guy has to go, or this guy has to play because, you know, the talent level is not there. I don't think I agree with you guys. I don't think that's the case. I think Devin Richardson can play. I know Jalen Ford can play. But if Luke Brockemeyer is doing some of those things and he's flipping his hips the way he is and making those plays and making those reads, then best man up. Best man up. It's a meritocracy.
You're good, Trey.
No, I was just going to say, and you know, it's really, really hard to throw the stars out there. Like, oh, he's a 3-star versus a 4-star. Because a lot of the times kids don't develop until they're like 21, 22 years old anyways. So development's a weird thing. And that's why you see sometimes these 2-stars shoot up the draft boards. And, you know, he's got that bloodline, man. He's got the athletic bloodline and also the Texas on his back type of Texas in his heart, the horns in his heart. So he's going to do whatever he can to work hard to produce for his name.
I think Schooler will be a similar guy to Brockemeyer for us. I think, you know, people will be like kind of like what, but you'll see that they're smart players. I mean, people were telling me NFL guys were saying that Schooler was the best safety we had, you know? And so if NFL guy, and that was probably in spring. And so apparently, and he's fast, man. Remember that one play with that crazy run? Y'all did a video on it. Run, and he kind of blew it, but he came back with that closing speed. I mean, that dude is fast. I mean, like he missed it, but he closed on Bijan like crazy, and then he smacked Bijan, and Bijan took a hard fall, and people got mad at him. I'm like, no, that's a great safety. They was like, you just embarrassed me. You ran here.
No, I didn't want to cut him. I said, you got 2 more of those. You got 2 more of those. 2 strikes, and yeah.
Yeah, you can't be doing it in a bunch, but I like that.
You can't do it. No. Trust me. Defensive back play. You know, I was saying that just because it was funny. It is Bijan, so I didn't. I don't want anything bad. I don't want anything bad to happen to him.
I totally agree on management, but that I remember seeing when he hit him, I was like, "Oh, Schooler's got some edge," you know, and like he
took a great angle to beat him to the edge. So I was extremely happy about it. But it's like, bro, ease up on him. I know. Ease up on him. He's the franchise.
It still makes your heart stop for a second. But yeah, I think Schooler's
fumble return for a touchdown. Oof.
I think he's going to be rangy, man. I think he's going to be awesome in that middle of the field safety in a cover 3. And then BJ Foster, man, it's like you said, it's payday or paycheck time. You know, BJ Foster, we've been waiting so long to really see it because we just hear such great things behind the scenes of how effective of a football player he is. So this will be really cool. They were saying free safety, but then I think the depth chart said strong safety or something, but when they were saying him at free safety, when there were little whispers at stuff a couple months ago, I was like, that didn't make any sense.
Can I ask you an insider question?
If I know it.
if you know it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure, ask away.
My friends are insiders. I am not.
Hold on. No, but you my dude though. You my dude though. But I ask you this: first off, what I like about you is if you don't know, you tell me you don't know. You don't BS me, and that's why we've been friends for so long now. Because you always shot me straight, even before all the YouTube stuff on the real. Yeah, that's right, Robert Davison. Product launches September 4th. Amen, brother.
Yeah, trademark that, bro.
This is, I know, you're right. The safeties in the spring, they had different groups. Even in the spring game, was that a function of they were just trying to cross-train people, or was there something more to it than that?
Whenever I was talking to Eric from IT about it, he had said that they are trying anything and everything. So they were, hey, throw him at nickel. Hey, put Adam Moore at safety. Hey, take Thompson to nickel. They kind of just said, we're going to blow everything up and mix and match. And they did that for a series of practices. And then you saw it kind of settle down. So all I've heard is that, yeah, there was a conscious effort to mix guys up and to not pigeonhole. Because a lot of times you come in, it's like, I'm a safety. It's like, well, let's really see, are you a safety? Are you nickel, corner? And so I think that's what they did. They just wanted to see what they had. And that's why you see, some of because you got, Adam Mora was originally one of the starters. You had Thompson, one of the starters. So there was just a ton of that movement. And then when it all kind of settled down, it was the seniors standing,
Shout out to Ohio State. I saw the strip sack fumble. So yeah, they definitely taking control. Minnesota quarterback holding the ball way too long. But I
got on a little stat cast over here.
Little stack, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Ohio State's starting to get control of this, which if you're Ryan Day, you're on the road at Minnesota, you're just trying to leave with a W. First game for the quarterback. You're just trying to get out of there with a W. I mean, that's kind of how the approach is going to be when we go to Vietnam, right? You know, you don't know what type of environment. For people that don't remember what it was like when we used to go to Arkansas, those people hate us with a passion.
Yeah,
when I talk about energy in the stands, that's why sometimes the energy is different. When I talk about energy, like those people, you can
animosity. It's animosity. It's not. Yeah, it's not. They're angry.
So if you can just get out of here, because everybody over here have been rowing their boat, and all Ohio State's just trying to do is execute and leave. So that's where I would like to see Texas get to. Just go on. We used to be like that. We used to be road warriors under Mac Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And used to just go on the road no matter what happened. Craziness used to happen in Stillwater, I think it was. We used to get down by 3 touchdowns. Don't matter. And that happened with like Vince and Colt when they were here. And we used to just handle our business and get out of it. So
that's the mindset.
It's wild. It's wild down there.
We need that mindset, man, because that's what has been missing. That like whatever, man. That almost kind of borderline cocky, where it's just kind of, hey, we got this, man. I mean, you see Vince on the sidelines, like he believed 100. They could be down 50, and he would come down on that sideline and be like, we're about to come back. And he meant it. So if we can get to that point where we have that kind of healthy ego of like, we got this, and because it seems like, in the past few years, we get down and we get rattled. So that's the change that really overall needs to happen.
The nice ball, but he dropped it. The overwhelming theme here has been psyche, because at this point, Homer's giving y'all all the deep dive breakdowns, analytics. We've given y'all the big picture, and we've had conversations. But if it goes upstairs and these guys go out there and do what they're supposed to do, what they've been trained to do, then we will be very, very happy when we start having these conversations as fans and talking amongst ourselves. We're at an hour and 10. If you guys don't mind, we can go a few more minutes.
Yeah, let's do it.
And chit chat. I've got 177 people in here. I haven't checked the likes, but y'all know attendance. I shouldn't have to say it.
Yeah,
come in the live chat. You gotta hit the like button.
It's always funny when you say it. When I used to watch your live chat, as soon as you would say that, like 60 likes, would start popping up. So people would legit hear that and do it.
Oh, yeah.
You've caught me a couple times. I'll be honest with you. And then I'll be like, oh yeah, like.
I still want to find out who that one person is that dislikes our videos every single time.
Yeah.
I had a guy send me an email. He said, I got to dislike the video to keep you humble.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. There we go.
Honestly, I love that, man. That's funny. Like, I'll see it. I'll release a video, and the video's 20 minutes long, and in 2 minutes, someone dislikes it. I'm like, you couldn't even have seen the video, man.
Yeah.
It's physically impossible. You could have seen it. It's always some rival drive-by fan, that's just like, dislike. I'm going to keep going on about my day.
So I know one of the things and I want to give you a lot of credit because people got to see what kind of the content you'll be producing during the season. Because it's one thing, off-season content is it's like YouTube is also seasonal, right? Like off-season, we have our stuff and we're getting ready for the season. But your preview of Louisiana and really, really getting into, I saw one of the gentlemen, I think it was equipment manager, made the comment about you understood our culture. You hit on our culture.
Right.
I think people got to understand some of the stuff you're getting ready to produce. I'm not trying to gas you up. This is just how I feel about you. But you're really going to be giving people some really good breakdowns week over week. And I know the work you've been putting in to already really understand the enemy, understand the opponent. And so that when we go into a game, we feel as though we know them just as well as they know us.
Yeah, I think that's the fun part, man. And I look at it like it's real battle, it's like getting in formations, to me, it's like, it's so fascinating. And all the coaches say the same thing. We want to be tough. Like, name one coach that said we want to be weak. They all say the same six things.
Yep.
But when when you study the tape, that's when you find out what they actually are. Because everybody says that they're a tough physical, blah, 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 blah. And then when you go in there, and so that's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm already on Arkansas, man. That's who I'm watching every night. Louisiana's coming, but it's always like looking ahead.
Right, the work's done. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really always looking ahead. And then two, if I know any fans from that team, I ask them because, who to look out for and those kind of things, because it's I would do this by myself, man, if I didn't have a YouTube channel. So this is what I was already doing, and now I just have to edit more, I guess. But that's what is really exciting about it to me, is like trying to actually figure out how they will win or lose versus like they're going to be stronger than them or something like that. That's fascinating, man. And so that's why I'm glad people like it, because I'm that same fan. I wanted to see these videos, and so that's why I made them.
Styles make fights.
Yep.
And with BUSR now being on board, I will be doing more, MMA and boxing, but that's a perfect segue, Connor, because styles make fights in the sense of whenever I break down, okay, this is how this person lines up with this tactically, talent, training, experience, all that matters. But tactically, what are they doing versus what gives us problems? Like, I learned this on via YouTube. I've always known this, but like it really enforced itself that Georgia game in the Sugar Bowl, when I'm like, we just match up well with them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like there's something, the phone booth football, like Tom Herman was always good at that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Jake Fromm was trash.
Oh, that too.
I would have to agree. I would frankly have to agree.
Every time he brings up Georgia, I
know you celebrated when he got cut this week.
Oh.
When Fromm was going through that before he went to the NFL, I was actively like, I don't see it with Fromm. And so that's what you got to watch this clinic. I think it's on YouTube. Go watch Georgia's defense. Kirby does a clinic, but he talks about how Tom Herman dismantled them that game. And after that happened, they called Dave Aranda and Todd Orlando to learn tight front, which is the 3 down that they use. And so, go watch it. You'll hear Kirby say that Texas picked us apart because we were playing old school SEC football, and then they went and just threw it into space. And so you'll even hear those coaches tell you that tactically that Georgia game, we just beat them up and down. And it was serious.
That's why Georgia is so intriguing to me this year, because there's a very large football game coming up happening in Charlotte, North Carolina on Saturday, Georgia and Clemson. And I don't know if y'all have any opinions or takes there, but you have basically a top 5 matchup week 1 right off the bat. And to your point about the clinics, Nick Saban famously said to all the defensive minded coaches in here, and I think he was specifically talking to Kirby Smart, y'all have got to get out of this pro style I formation. Like that is not going to do it anymore. I had to get out of it.
Yep.
Yeah, so did I.
People have figured that out, right? And it's not even figured it out so much as it is football has evolved. You can still do that. I mean, at the pro level, they still do that every week, right? Like, but football's evolved. There's so much more to the game and formation and how you have to attack with your defenders.
Well,
you're good.
The thing about it, yeah, sorry about that, man. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
The thing about it is that the evolution of the offense has been just light years from 10, 15 years ago. But defense is still pretty antiquated. You know, you have a base defense, you have a 3-4, you have a 4-6, you have and there's nothing really special that a lot of offenses haven't seen. There's not a secret blitz that no one's prepped for or anything like that. And that's why you're seeing these offensive numbers go up. And if you're just lining up and just trying to beat people with size, offenses have evolved so much where they have something for every little wrinkle that you throw at it, and everything that a defense, everything to counteract the defense's strength. So that's why it's so hard to be a defensive coordinator.
Happened to Saban. They Clemson, that's what they did to him. They had the interview with Saban. Clemson picked them apart, spread them out, and beat them bad. It was embarrassing. And that's when Saban said, like, oh, okay, you're not going to be able to win against spread offenses. And that's when that change came. And you hear it, the fans that learned football, longer ago, they'll still say those kind of platitudes about, 3 yards in a cloud of dust and da-da-da-da. But that's just really not how football is anymore, man.
If you got to establish the run, Homer.
Yeah, you got to establish the run. No, you don't. You can pass. As soon as you spread out to pass, you just opened up the run. So
that's why it's funny, because in my video, I don't say carries anymore. And when I was talking about establish Bijan early, that does not necessarily mean in the run game, right? That means in terms of him touching the football in some capacity. I don't care if he's killing it when you're flexing him out somewhere and he's just got a matchup and you're going to work on it because that's what's working. You don't have to hand the ball off and run the ball, up the middle just and say, oh, we're trying to establish the run. It's not the way football's played anymore.
Right. And yeah, that's and schematically, man, there's two spread philosophies. One of them is spread to pass and one is spread to run. Urban Meyer is more that spread to run. And so that was what's interesting, because as soon as you take those receivers out, you take those linebackers out, and now you have an empty box. So it doesn't even matter. I mean, you can formationally beat somebody by just putting receivers out. You open up the run. So there's you don't need to run it 50 times in a row or stuff like that. You can establish the run through the pass now.
It's fascinating, man. Because we've had so much turnover recently. I mean, go back to when we had Sterling Gilbert, right? And we were running, more of the veer and shoot and had the Art Browse concepts out there, and we're spreading everybody out. We don't want to run any slants because Deonta Foreman was the one that was going to hit on the big plays, because we were trying to – it was basically numbers, right? And it's like Shane Buechele would get up there, and it's like, there's only 5 people here. It's a run.
Yep.
It's just fascinating because we've seen it. Then we moved to the power spread with Tom Herman. Then we moved to Mike Gersich and all this type of stuff. Hopefully we have – we're here to stay with Steve Sarkisian, as he will have to continue to evolve too.
Right? We're on the forefront. He's on the forefront, man. I always say it's Riley, Sarkisian, and Kiffin. Those 3 are just so far ahead of everybody. But the defenses are working, man. You can take away RPOs based on alignment. So if you take your nickel and cover down, make them close to the receiver, kind of set them right where that glance is going to be, then you can take it away. So you're right. He's going to have to evolve. And so that's what's even more interesting for me, is that the defenses are catching up, man. Last year, the Big 12 had great defense.
They did.
So it's like they're catching up. And so, but like, as you've seen, that guy, I mean, he was doing the quick game, everything that was trendy at USC back when he was there. So he's on it, man. You've seen him always doing the new thing, even if it was at SC or Washington, at that time, that was the new thing. So he's always kind of on it. So that's what I don't worry about. But defenses are working really hard to screw up the RPO game.
I appreciate everybody in here in the chat. That is, I'm sorry, we had to get somebody blocked in here, but 190 people on here. So make sure you guys hit that like button, show us some love. We're at 120. I don't mind going another 10, and we'll cut it at 130, hour and a half. Tran, I lost the bet. Tran's always like, we're not going to cover an hour. And I'm like, oh, no, we're going to be blah, blah, blah.
So whenever we say an hour, I go, okay, cool. An hour 30.
That's the worst part. That's the worst part with me, man. Inside Texas would be, we're working on a video and they're like, all right, man, let's, do like 15-minute video, get it out there quick. And I'm like 40 minutes. Like, I can't help it, but pushing it farther.
Dude, I mean, and the thing too is like, I think today it really hit me. I've been saying to myself this game week, but I've also been moving and trying to do stuff in the new house and everything in between, right? And so it's just like today, because I'm going to Austin tomorrow, and I'm like, damn, it's like finally here, like, and we're gonna see all the things we've been talking about for months, all the work that we've put in, all the work that these young men and women in the program have put in establishing and hopefully reestablishing a winning culture at the University of Texas. We're going to get to see the South End Zone project. It's a big day for Chris Del Conte, right? Matthew took some undercover footage.
Nice.
He's over here laughing. I have to get that back on the channel a little bit.
Hey, real quick, can we go back to the defenses catching up?
Yes.
Do you think they're actually catching up, or do you think that the quarterback play wasn't to the normal standard of the Big 12 last year?
I think it was probably both. I think that COVID screwed up the timing on offense, so they couldn't be as rehearsed. But it was schematic. I mean, you have Dave Aranda doing his 3 down. He calls it the tight front. He made that famous. So you have PK, you have Aranda, who's a head coach, but still, you have Grinch, who's doing excellent work over at OU.
Yeah, Grinch is fantastic.
And so
I can't remember the D coordinator for Iowa State, but I thought he did a really good job as well.
Peacock.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry,
Peacock.
Yeah, and he does the same thing. So it's like, if you look, I was talking to Around the Table Sports about this because he's a SEC, he's a Bama fan. I was telling him, I was like, no one can touch the defensive coordinators, and then in the Big 12 right now, because you have guys that, like, literally Dave Aranda pretty much created the tight front. I mean, you have real pioneers defensively now, and this used to be an offensive conference. And then when we go to the SEC, we're going to lose some of that, but we're going to have Lane Kiffin, Lincoln Riley, and Sarkisian in the same conference. So it's like you have the 3, and maybe Mike Leach.
Yeah, Mike Leach.
You have 4. It's going to be awesome, man. So, like, schematically, as a fan, I love the Big 12 right now, offensively and defensively. And then SEC, I love the offensive side of it.
Can I add something too? Because I'm a former quarterback long ago, many years ago at the high school level. I wasn't good. But my point is this: when I thought I was good and I was going to camps and trying to get put on, and actually going to camps, not like lying to people like our friends at Bishop Sycamore, High School, Columbus, Ohio. But actually,
I want to do a documentary on them, man. That's fascinating.
You need to.
They're fascinating.
Because that whole situation is extremely fascinating. But this is probably like 2002, 2003. 7-on-7 was like at the genesis. Like, you're like, what? We're not playing flag. What are we doing here? And I will say this: quarterback training, because this goes to Hudson Card and him working with the trainer from high school. I think football caught up to baseball a little bit in terms of all the work they do without the coaches that they play for, if that makes sense. Like baseball, the AAU model, kids working with hitting coaches, kids working with pitching coaches, all sorts of stuff. Like, that's been in vogue for a while in terms of getting the training and nuance and technique. And you see kids that are very, very developed at a young age. I think football is getting there, especially with the quarterbacks and the amount of work they put in. I mean, you're talking about throwing from different platforms, throwing from different arm angles. Everybody's training that now. Yep. You look at these receivers, these kids that come in, like Xavier Worthy, could he have been a starter, opening day starter 20 years ago? Like how, like now that's not even a big deal now.
Yeah.
Before it was like you had to look like Adrian Peterson to be an opening day freshman starter. Am I lying?
Right.
Like you had to be, either some X-Man ability. Even Vince Young was redshirted.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Chris Sims was like all these dudes. So the model in terms of training, especially with the quarterbacks, and then in conjunction with the offenses, the Leaches and all these guys out here. I agree. But the development of quarterbacks, I think, has forced the evolution in football as well.
Card has been with his trainer since 7th grade. So it's like these trainers and these coaches, if you're lucky enough to be able to, afford those lessons young on, I mean, your trainer will literally follow you longer than any of your coaches will. And really at some point, that's the person that's really forming what you are. You go with Sark and stuff like that, and they teach you, hey, do this, hey, do that. But as far as learning the game and molding into a quarterback, it's these outside trainers that are doing that now.
What's funny is you hear different trainers and people with all these things, and sometimes they get emotional with the coaches and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's, am I getting better? Can I develop? These are the same questions that these kids are asking these coaches when they're looking to select their school. Somebody asked me today in a video about Arch Manning and if he would, like, how important these few games are in terms of seeing what he needs to see for him to get what he needs to get from Texas. And I'm like, no, absolutely. All these, Evan Stewart, all these guys, like, they've been hearing the pitch. They've all been hearing the pitch. But at this point, it's like, hey, are you guys going to put me in a situation where all this work I've been doing in the offseason, I can actually showcase it? Or are y'all going to keep being Texas and stumbling over yourselves and struggling to get people on the field that should be on the field, right? So all those things we got to work on.
I'm not worried about that. I think we're going to showcase our talent, and I think the best players are going to play.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the number one tenet of Sarkisian's offense is that he features people, ad nauseum, which is great.
He had 3 people that were up for the Heisman.
Yeah, I mean, that's the greatest offense ever, overall offense ever, and it wasn't just because quarterback was good or this guy was good. I mean, everybody legitimately was good, and it was scheme based. Like, yeah, it's Alabama development, but here's the thing. Could I win with Alabama? Probably, but he got the maximum out of them. Those are great players, but he still got every last drop out of those guys, and that's how they performed well.
He got Mac Jones drafted in the first round.
Yeah, and starting.
And starting. And Mac Jones looks like an NFL, legit NFL starter day one. It's funny because this is the point I was going to make, and it slipped my mind. You said Hudson Card's been with his trainer since 7th grade. You know who else has been with their trainer since 7th grade? Literally the same, Malik Murphy.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And I know people are hey, why didn't we take this guy? Or why shouldn't we offer Wegman? Or why didn't we take Klubnik or the Quinn Ewers thing? Here's the thing. You just said that he maximized Alabama more than anybody else. Like, Alabama was good. We knew what they did with Loxley and Dable and Kiffin, these guys. Like, they were all eating, right? But he maximized it. Why don't y'all think about it that way with Malik Murphy and how he will develop? He's looking for the tools. And I'm going to keep saying this because Malik Murphy clearly has the tools. Clearly he's had the same traditional training. He's just not in the same high school program where they can showcase it. That's what I'm personally seeing. Is he raw? Does he have things to work on? Absolutely. I see that on film as well. I'm not trying to blow smoke up that situation either. But there's a reason why he was finishing second at Elite 11, just like Hudson Card finished second at Elite 11. Right? So It's the development aspect. They're not looking at a finished product when they're making their evaluations on these kids in high school.
It's not just the development aspect of it, but if you're talking about the Elite 11 thing that jumps off the page to me for that is that both of them are coachable, because when they were invited, they weren't the top tier guys. They were the middle tier to the bottom of the Elite 11, and then they worked their way to the top, and that's the biggest thing that the Elite 11 Elite 11 shows. So that's the thing that I'm interested in seeing, the development of both of those quarterbacks, not just Hudson Card, but also Malik Murphy.
I'm excited for Malik, man. And like you said, his team, he's not at like an elite academy in California, you know. So it's like his offensive line is sketchy. You know, he has to run and do all sorts of stuff.
He's bigger than half of them.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And
they had a brother playing left guard that looked like me. I'm like, oh
yeah,
no.
That's what I'm saying. When I watch his games, I'm like, he doesn't even have a chance to showcase. I mean, his wide receivers will drop things that hit him in the hand. So I think his problem where people got mad is just he doesn't have the surrounding talent. You know, if like he's at modern day, he'd be doing all right. So I think you just have to understand, and he's an excellent prospect, man. Like any NFL scout looks at him like, wow, like what can he be in a few years? And so, you know, don't expect him to come in year one and be the starting quarterback. It's totally cool to have him for a year, 2 years, and let him kind of mold. It's Sark can develop, and I'm sure AJ can too. So
is that Travion
be
Henderson?
patient.
Is that Travion Henderson that just took it to the house?
No,
like that?
Mayan. What's the last name?
Oh, Mayan. No, that was Henderson.
Yeah, it's
They-
good. They're
think that's
turning up.
No, Fox put the wrong name on the screen. Travion Henderson just took one.
Oh, okay.
Like
I just saw Mayan
Now
Henderson
it's a
on
blowout.
the screen.
But so guys, we're coming full circle because we're about to wrap up the chat. When we were at the 20-minute mark of this chat, Ohio State was down at halftime, 14-10 on the road, and it was raining. It's now 41, about to be 44, and it's still 9 minutes left in the fourth. And people that didn't watch this game are going to say, "Oh, they rolled, right?"
Right.
But they went through real we all just saw this together. That's why I'm glad we're all seeing this together. That's what you're looking for. That's how you don't get caught with these upsets. You come out in the third quarter. It's no different than like Golden State back in the day. NBA people used to come out in the third quarter, games tied at halftime. Next thing you know, they go on a 15-0 run. That's what the great teams do. We make our adjustments. All right, everybody settle down. CJ Stroud's your first start. You're fine. Do what you did in practice. That's why you're the starter. You're our guy. You'll be fine. Travion Henderson, let's ease him in. This is his first college football game. And now he's taking one to the house. So it's football, guys. It's not all this is super deep. You just you know what you need to do.
Yeah. Homer and I were talking about that before we actually started. We were like, if they keep it at 3-point halftime lead, we think that Ohio State's going to win this game easily. If they absorb the first shock or the first pop in the mouth, and I think that just
I've always felt in these games where you're trying to take out a really big dog, you have to be aware of that and come out if even more crazy energy or do something, create a turnover right off the bat. Like you have to almost reintroduce doubt. Right. If you can reintroduce doubt, like Indiana did last year, where they got really close, like there's certain situations you can do that, but it's tough. You guys, 193 in here. We appreciate all the folks that have been watching, and
thank you.
Please subscribe to Texas Homer on YouTube. He is doing yeoman's work over there, working with Inside Texas. I'm a customer of Inside Texas. Eric, Justin, Joe, all those guys over there that do fantastic work. They're giving you guys exclusive content with Hudson Card. I don't know what more you can ask for as a Texas fan. I don't know what more you can ask for within this YouTube community as a Texas fan. Other schools are not getting this connected, where you're getting different people's perspectives. You're getting people that are – you have the Spielberg over here just making content about Texas. So, I mean, I think it's incredible. Oh, we lost him for a second. We'll bring him back.
I'm back.
That would have been just so great if he just dropped. He goes, thank you for the Spielberg. He goes, thank you for the
flowers.
I didn't even hear it, but it would be funny if you like start giving me a compliment. I'm just like, whatever, dude.
Thanks, bro. Bye.
But I appreciate it, man. Honestly, I appreciate it, man. Now, all the comments and everything, everybody's been awesome, man. And like YouTube can be a real mean place, and it hasn't been for us. So I'm lucky, man. We got a good fan base, and we're gonna be all right.
No, meeting you, getting to meet, you and I have met in person, so that's dope. But one day I'll get to meet Clinton Jeremy in person,
right. And
we got a chance to meet, Trevor and Myers in Madrid at the spring game. But when we got to meet, and hope, like I said, again, to meet Clinton Jeremy, hopefully soon at Texas Football Talk, like these are real relationships that we have. And like you said, the internet can be a nasty place, but we've made friendships on the internet too. Yeah. I met you because of YouTube. We both, Homer and I are friends with Tracy because of YouTube. Yeah. Because of YouTube, Tracy Williams, who's our annoying referee friend, who we go to blows all the time, but we met him on this platform. So all the negativity out there, and there's been things that have hurt my feelings before. I'm a very open and vulnerable person. That's why I've shared so much with you guys. But I also recognize the beauty of what we've been able to do and put together here. And Tran and I are just, we're blessed to have you on the channel, brothers. So
absolutely,
thank you for all that you're doing.
Keep up the awesome work too.
It's just a trip being on the channel, man. Like I said, I was watching you guys. So you guys are still my favorite. You guys are the ones I watch. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Hey, man.
Y'all the originals, the OGs, man.
Hey, well, we all growing together. It's a wonderful community. Who knows?
Absolutely.
Hey, God forbid we start winning.
Oh, I know.
Shit.
Really winning. Shoot.
If we're winning and then the SEC, I think we're gonna be all right, man.
It's either one or the other extreme. Either we start winning or we just shit the bed. That's when we'll get both.
Exactly. Well, as we sign off, I think you guys heard later, if you weren't on before, we have a new sponsor, BUSR, the official sportsbook, the official betting partner of Fanatic Perspective. We are thrilled to partner up with them. Go and check out the link that we have, custom link, busr.com/Fanatic. Use the promo code NFL100FP. They will match free play 100%. So you put up some 350, you get 350 back. 500, you get 500 back. Go check it out. Live betting. Somebody could have bet on Travion Anderson scoring a touchdown. Do it on our behalf. We get you some money. Let's make money together. Thank you, BUSR, for having us on. But I will run a quick promo that's like 2 seconds, and we are good to go here, guys. I'm just really, really thankful for you guys, joining and joining us out there, all the fans out there. The super chat we receive. Thank you for supporting what we do. It means the world. So I'm gonna run this from BUSR, and then after that, we'll do our horns up. See, that was short and sweet.
Yeah, that was beautiful. That was my favorite.
Go check them out. That's all it was. So, guys, remember, horns always up.
Welcome.